Okay.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our area ready. Lay down a towel, something to keep any water or anything from getting on your nice clean table. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver, a pair of pliers, any really will do, doesn't really much matter. One pair of scissors, one small thing of tape, and your Instant Pot. You will also need somebody to hold the camera in such a way that they can see all of this. You're going to make sure that you take this piece off. Something to hold all your little parts in. It rotates ever so slightly and lifts right off. Then you're going to lift this off. You're going to remove this screw. Then this one. And finally, this one. Now with this piece here, not all Instant Pots will be exactly the same. But for this particular model, if yours looks like this, you're going to undo this screw until it's loose. Once it's loose, you're going to lift the entire unit out just like this. Make sure you put that back on there, just like that. Make sure you leave your screw in there because you don't want the whole thing to come apart and then you got to figure out how to put it back together. That's kind of a pain. Grab a hold of these blue things here, which are the wires, and you're going to unplug them directly from there. You have this piece. Set it aside. Okay. Then you want to pinch this little lever and remove that. This red one doesn't have a lever, you just need to unplug it. After you've unplugged that, all the rest of that, and you're going to unplug this piece, which has a little lip. You just have to do that with it, and it comes right off. Be careful not to bend this too much, you'll break it. Okay, remove this one, and then you are all set. All you need to do now is take off the bottom. There are 3 screws. 1, 2, and 3. This lifts straight off. Move this like so. Cover those so you don't lose your screws. Set your piece aside. This piece can be fully submerged and cleaned in water and soap. There's a piece of tape here. Now on your new one, the first time you've ever cleaned it, that piece of tape is going to be smaller than this. This is a replacement piece that I've put on here myself. You're going to pull that off. It's garbage. Throw it away. Then, once you've disconnected everything, make sure that you have everything fully disconnected. This piece comes right off. That's your brain. Don't get it wet and don't damage it. Remove this screw to fully remove your power line. Once you've done all of that, the rest of this slides right up and off. Okay. This piece can be removed, but you don't need to in order to clean it. So I would suggest you don't, because as you know, the more complicated you make it, the more likely you are to break it. Just use a rag with a little bit of cleaner sprayed on it to clean this out inside here and on the outside real good. Now, this is your heating element. This whole piece right here is your heating element. Okay? In order to get that off of there, you're going to need your pliers. There are two little nuts, one here and one here. Pull them. All you got to do is loosen them up. Once you've loosened them, you should be able to turn them by hand. Turn it onto its side. Put your hand inside so that you're holding the plate. You don't want that to fall out of there. Okay? Remember that there is a little lock washer. It's very small. Don't lose it. Once you've done that, push this right through, like so. Pull that out. Take this off. Do not get this wet. We don't know how delicate it is. Unless you want to figure it out the hard way, I would suggest you leave it alone and set it off to the side. Once you've pulled it all apart, this can be submerged in water and cleaned. You don't have to worry about it getting dirty or getting wet and being a problem. It's not a big deal, okay? Once you've done that, on your Instant Pot, on the inside, there's a single screw right here. That holds this whole piece on. This whole piece. Remove that screw, like so. Place your pot straight down. Put your thumbs on it and pull. That removes that. Once that's off of there, if you want, you can just wipe this piece off, but because this is where all the gunk fills in and it just gets really gross, I would suggest that you remove these two screws.
You're better off taking that piece apart too, because when you go to wipe down the rim, stuff does get in between the outside stainless steel and this inner canister here.
One. And number two. Nothing here is too delicate. Just make sure you don't damage the wire. That comes right off. Make sure you don't damage the wire. This can be submerged. There's no wiring on it. When you go to pull this apart, lightly push on here so that you can get the wire right out of that little S-hook area there. Not the easiest thing in the world to do, but you don't want to damage the wire. Just like that. One screw right here. And then just lift it out. This is your sensor. It's very important. Without this, your Instant Pot will never realize that its lid is on and will not come to pressure because it will not turn on. This can be fully submerged and cleaned. This is what's left. It can be fully submerged and cleaned. This little ring can be pulled right off. It's not hard. Can be submerged and cleaned. Then you can fully submerge and clean this. Let everything dry. If you're not absolutely certain that it's dry when you go to put it back together, use a hair dryer on it. Do not get this wet, ever. If you do, you have just created yourself a very expensive paperweight. Now we're going to put it back together. To put it back together, it's quite simple. You do it exactly the same way in reverse. Okay? First thing we're going to do, I'm going to slide this right into there. Put this down on here. Do not try to use the wire to pull it down. You have to spread it and pull it down. If you try to pull it down straight by itself just by holding the wire, you could rip the wire. Like I said before, without that wire, your Instant Pot will not work. Just like that. Take this screw. It's short and has a flange on it. It's the one that goes to here. Okay? Just put it back in there and tighten it down. Remember, you're putting metal into plastic here, so it does not have to be super tight. Just enough to keep it from moving. And there you go. Now, place this ring with this piece here. Needs to go over the hole. Just like this. If you're not sure that you have it on there correctly, all of these little pieces here will line up with the metal. That's how you know. Okay? Do not do like I did the very first time. Do not put this back on here without reattaching this first. Slides right down into this little groove. The holes line up perfectly for you. It shouldn't be very hard. If it is, you're doing something wrong. Stop, reevaluate, and see what you did wrong. Again, it's plastic. You don't have to put it on tight. Just tight enough to keep it from wiggling about and being loose. Okay? Now that you've done that, there is a hole right here. You can see by the fact that it has some wear on it. That's the one that needs to line up with this hole right here. Okay? You can place it on there just like this. Now you have to put some pressure on it to bring it down. Make sure you do it evenly. If you don't do it evenly, you could break one of the pieces of plastic, and you don't want to do that. Okay? Once you've done that, flip the whole thing over. Okay, this is the only screw that looks like this in the entire assembly. It's very flat on one side. That's so that your Instant Pot, when you put it in there, doesn't catch on it. It may or may not go perfectly straight back into it. It's not that big a deal if it's ever so slightly cockeyed, because technically that's probably the way it came when you bought it. Flip the whole thing onto its side. Take this piece, place it just like that. You know you got it right because it'll only go on one of two ways. This way or this way, and it doesn't really matter. Hold it out like so, that you don't drop anything. And you're going to slide it all the way down. These two need to line up with that. These two need to line up with these two holes here. So, about like this. Okay. I'm just going to do it this way because I've done this before. It's a little easier. Line that up with the holes, and you will line it up with your pegs too. I'm making this look harder than it really is because, well, sometimes I like to do things the hard way because I'm a Vandiver and that's what we do. There we go. Line it up. Now you've got it when it just goes like, come on. Yeah. There we go. Work smarter, not harder. Okay? Put pressure until the rubber comes through the holes. Once you've done that, these come right through. You need to sit and hold them. Place your lock washer on each one. Remember, the lock washer is that thing that I said was really small. Do not lose it. If you lose it, then the vibrations of the water boiling could, not necessarily will, but could cause this to come off. If it comes off, your Instant Pot will not work properly. You need to make sure that when you tighten this up, you put it on fairly tight. Don't try to finger tight it. If you make it finger tight, it's not tight enough. Use your pliers. Like I said before, work smarter, not harder. My dad always told me, be 10% smarter than the object you are working with, and you will succeed. I have actually found that to be true. Okay, fairly tight. Pretty simple stuff. Okay, now that you've done that, the rest of it goes pretty quick and easy. Place this right into that little slot. See? Goes right in there. And then you have two of these screws. The way you know the difference between which one went where is one of them will have darker threads from having gone through the paint already. Use that one. Place it like so. Put this right there. A little turn so that it starts to go in. Tighten it down. Make sure you tighten it down pretty good. You are going into metal, so you don't have to worry too much about stripping it out. Okay? This piece is right here. Snaps right on. Not very difficult to do. You don't have to push hard. If you have to push hard, you're doing it wrong. Slide that piece on. Again, if you have to push too hard, you're not doing it right. This piece, you just need to line it up. You have this little piece right here. It goes right down in that little slot. Push it down on there. Hold it like so, and use your fingers to push it down. Snap it into place. Pretty easy. Okay. This piece, the clip goes to the back side. Just like that. Okay? Now, you're going to reattach the red one. It's going to be the one that's just like this. No, this doesn't have to be perfectly aligned, but you do want it on there pretty tight. Hold this so you don't accidentally twist this off. If you twist it off, you've broken it and you're going to need to do a whole lot more than what I'm willing to teach you right now. This piece and this one go here together, okay? Comes right off of this wire. Goes there, just like this. Your other screw that looks just like the last one you did. Put it there, there. Get it started. Remember to tighten it down. If you don't tighten it down, you could have a shorts and it won't work properly. Hold it good. If you don't hold it well, you could have a problem. Just like so. Okay? Now that we've done all of that, we can now place this piece back on there. Now remember, it goes on with this to here. It really only goes one way. Take your wire, pull it up through so you don't pinch it. There's a little slot. See if you can get down in there and see it. You see a little slot right there. Slides right down. It's very, very gentle, very easy. If you have to push hard, you're doing something wrong. You're going to hear me say that a lot. You probably already have. Okay? Get yourself a new piece of tape. I'm going to use the old piece that I already had because it hasn't been on there very long. About an hour. But get yourself a new piece of tape. Take your wire, push it off to the side like so, and tape it on there. What I like to do is I like to fold down a bit on the end, so that way the next time I do this, it's going to be easy.
Show them which wire it is.
Okay? It's the one that's attached to the red. Okay. Now, you take this piece. Make sure you don't let that screw fall out. I told you about that one before, remember? Slide it in here, just like so. Get down low. Come around this side. Get down low. You can see right there, it goes right in that hole. Tighten it down about until it catches. Once it starts catching and goes in, then you can grab your screwdriver.
Now, doesn't that piece look different on other models?
On some models, this piece will look different. If you have one of those, there is another tutorial. I don't have a link to the guy's video, I'm sorry. But from what I saw of it, there's a simple screw, kind of like this one, that's up underneath, and the whole piece is about yay big. You'll pull that one screw out and the whole assembly comes off. We don't have that model, so I'm not that worried about it. Take this piece, okay, comes off your panel. It plugs in. It only goes in one way. If you have to force it, you're doing it wrong. The one on the right goes onto the slot on the right. Okay. Make sure you hold it, because if you try to push a little bit and it starts to bend the board, you could damage it. It goes right onto that little slot right there. The one on the left goes on the one on the left. Make sure you have all these reconnected. If you're missing even one, your Instant Pot will not work. And then you'll be wondering, what did that idiot tell me to do? Okay. Take your piece, okay. Hold it this way, put your wire through it, your cord, pull it all the way through. Okay. This slides right down in there, just like that. Very, very easy. These pieces line up just like this over the top of that. Then you have 3 screws that go right in here. Make sure you get this on here pretty tight. Doesn't have to be extremely tight, but you want it to not wiggle. As with most things, when you have multiple screws holding a single object, you're going to want to make sure you put them all on before you tighten it down. That way you don't have to loosen one up if you have to adjust it. Tighten it. Make sure they're all pretty snug. Okay? Give a little wiggle on all of your wires. Make sure that they're all attached. All is good. That's good. That's good. Okay? No, you didn't forget something. That spot is empty. Leave it empty. This lines up with your cord. Line up the little holes, push it down a little bit, slide it, place this right here. Sometimes it's easier with this one to do it with the screwdriver because then you can spin it while you're pushing. It's going into plastic, so don't put it down too tight or you'll strip it. And you are done. Congratulations, you have just fully disassembled and reassembled your Instant Pot and got it clean, probably for the first time since you bought it, and it no longer stinks.
Are you going to disassemble the lid?
No, I'm sure they can all figure out how to pull the lid apart on their own.